Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to my podcast, Spiritual Talk with Christy Godwin and Friends. I am your resident psychic medium, Christy Godwin, and I have the lovely Karin Edgett here. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Christy. I really enjoyed our little pre-call chat, and I'm looking very much forward to this call.
Yeah, so everyone watch whether you're watching it on my YouTube channel or listening to it on a podcast outlet, know that we kept trying to roll into this podcast, but I kept having her in conversation. She was taking me on a tour of her lovely house. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Karin before we get started and roll into some fabulous questions I have for her. She is a phenomenal artist. And if you are listening to this on a podcast outlet, please go to my YouTube channel so you can see the beautiful art that is behind her. But real quick, I'm going to have her pick up a piece and show. She was walking through the house and I had her stop. I was like, what is that? I have to see it. Pick up that piece if you don't mind, Karin, and show us this art.
Okay, this is my oh, if the light shines right in it. This is the Peony Whispers image I captured off of a peony a couple years ago that just spoke to me like otherworldly. This is what I think is a little portal right in the center of it.
That is a little
It can
portal.
take you to all these other galaxies and all these other consciousnesses. It's one of my favorite pieces. I always have a print. Whenever I make a print and send it out, I get another one for myself.
That out of all the for people listening, out of all the art that I saw walking, that one grabbed me. Now, Karin has, I want you to check her out on if you are listening to this, go down to the verbiage attached to it. There will be links to how you can contact her. But her name is Karin Edgett, Karinedgett. So you can
Can
Google
I,
her.
can I just
Um,
can I just interject here that it's
yes,
Edgett, Edgett, not Edgett.
Edgett, Edgett.
Yeah, Edge like
I said
edge.
it earlier
You
correctly.
did. You
I
said it
did.
beautifully
I did. So
earlier.
now, if we were sitting here just chit-chatting, we won't do it on the podcast, but if we were just chit-chatting, I would sit down and say, okay, why did I have that slip of tongue? Is never a mistake because I had it correct before we started the podcast. So the fact that I had that slip of tongue, I was like, there's something to that. We won't break it down here because people are here to hear about you. Um, and your beautiful art. So she has these beautiful prints that I'm telling everyone they are otherworldly. You can just feel the energy rolling off of them. And then she also has a beautiful cookbook that really grabbed my attention because it's about garlic and dressings, and I love me some garlic. But now, Karen, what I loved about everything that you talked about was you kept using the word energy of it, the energy and the creative process. So, can you tell me a little bit about the role of the intention in the art and how it really shapes this creative process?
Um, well, I feel like when I'm creating any of my art, paintings or these images behind me, I'm actually co-creating. And so an energy is coming through me, or there's with art, it's often like little fairies are like joining me to like, you know, invoke some kind of magic or shift in consciousness that comes through the art. And I'm very intentional about it. I welcome the energies in. And sometimes if I'm too much in my head, I might have two paintings going, one for my thinking brain and one for all the energy that wants to channel through that's when you're an artist, you're often channeling information that's not been channeled before. It's new, it's coming in, it's being rearranged, even if it's similar energy, it's being rearranged. My subjects tend to always be about consciousness and and the vibration that the paintings carry or the pictures carry afterwards just lives on. In fact, it actually amplifies the more people see it. So the energy grows and grows, and that keeps my house really clean and high vibrating
Yeah.
in energy. I don't even have to worry about the art getting old because it keeps growing as more people see it. It's like
Yes.
it's almost like it's alive, and there's little stewards on it that are stewardship fairies or something, or energies that make sure its integrity grows with everything. But for me, everything is energy. I mean, I learned to paint traditionally. I learned to cook traditionally. Um, and I now have a certification in nutritional cooking, but none of that really interests me. What interests me is what's the energy of the food? How does it open up our spiritual channels? How does the art shift us? How does it change? Can it lift our moods? Can it, give us, even if it's subtle, like a different
Yes.
way to approach the world?
Absolutely. For everyone watching, please go to her website and look at some of her artwork. Even if some of what we're saying, you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know if that resonates with me. Just go check out her artwork. You will be surprised. Again, the ways to contact her are in the verbiage of this podcast, but it's karenedgett.art.
Mhm.
Edget.art. Edget for everyone
Edge
listening. Edget,
it.
Edget. But I'm gonna do it saying it phonetically so that people can when they go to write it, it's
I
Ed.
think that's
Yeah.
beautiful to say it phonetically. So
Yes,
go ahead.
because I don't want them to be confused. Yes, it's Edget, but it's Edget. Edget. I'm gonna go get me some Ed. That's what it is. And her first name is Karen. So Karen Edgett, if you're doing it phonetically, .art is her website. Please go check it out. You will be surprised. Just give yourself a little break and look at this artwork in some different energy. I have to tell you, whenever her name came to me and I went to her website, I was stopped in my tracks. I just stopped for a moment. I was really busy. I was doing something else. It was one of those things that I go, let me go check this out real quick. And I found myself just immersed into her website with the art. And then she has these beautiful cards. You can so feel the energy coming off of it. It was just so phenomenal.
Oh, thank
Now,
you.
something that I want to ask you, and now to pretend like you're talking to someone who I call a muggle, someone who is not really versed in reading energy. Now, for everyone watching, if you've ever heard me talk, everyone can read energy. We are trained from a young age to read energy. We just don't realize it.
I think
Even
we're
now,
born with
people,
it. I think we're
yes.
born with it.
Yes. You can walk into a room and without even realizing it, you'll be like, oh, what happened here? Someone have an argument? It's feeling off. Or you walk into a room and you smile without even realizing you're smiling. It's because your body is reading the energy of this room.
Hmm.
So how can viewers, what's the best way for them to experience these energy shifts from art?
Well, I think, like you said, a lot of people are busy. Like you were busy when you saw my website, and then you stopped and noticed it. But you're also used to working in the energetic sensory, the
Yes.
sixth sense that everybody has, but most people don't allow a lot of time for. So the in that regard, the work works whether you recognize it or not. So if
Yes.
you're busy and you just catch out the corner of your eye, you may notice that there's something there. That doesn't mean it's not working on you, but it is an opportunity for you to stop and pause and take a deeper look
Yes.
and allow the energy to penetrate you and share in that space. So I don't think, I mean, a lot of people, when they look at art, if they're kind of being forced to look at art, they might start analyzing it with their brain instead of their heart or their sixth sense,
Mhm.
and they try to make sense out of a shape. Like that peony doesn't really look like a peony. It looks like all these swirly, flames of, non-flammable, you know, uh,
Yeah.
lines and colors and pinks and stuff, and just something very soft. And pink is a great color for the energy of love and joy,
Yeah, it is
for
for
loving
sure.
joy. And so you're picking up on that, and pink with patterns, gives you that even more. And so you're subtly picking up on the fact that, wow, maybe this made me feel a little bit better. And maybe you just notice it for a second. It doesn't mean it's not affecting you and not working on you. It just means that, um, if you want more of that second of a moment, you need to pause and just look at what
Absolutely.
caught your eye. Look at, not trying to read into it. Does this look like something I recognize from the past? But allow it to give you the information that you don't yet have, even if it's just color and pattern, you know, that
Yes.
that's all of my work is really geared towards taking you to a new consciousness of some kind. And that happens when energy shifts and expands.
Yes.
And so that can easily be done through color and shape. But when you're thinking of like a pretty barn or a cow or, or if you're thinking about a flower, you may end up not absorbing as much of that shift as you can versus if you're just thinking of the colors and patterns and shapes and allowing them to kind of wash over you. Does that make much
Yes,
sense?
yes, I was going to say, oh my goodness, Karen, you that was beautiful. You covered so much. I want to break it down a little bit if you don't
Okay.
mind. First,
Mm-mm.
what Karen said that I loved was talking about you might not realize it's shifting
Hmm.
you, but it's changing the vibration around you. And I see that every single day. And I want to put it into layman's terms that people will understand. Everyone has that friend that they want to be around
Hmm.
just because being around them makes them feel better. It might not be the words they're saying, it's just being around that friend makes you feel better. That's energy. The same thing can be done by nature, our animals. Most people have a pet. Most people, not everyone. Most people have a pet that they love, and just being around that pet, the energy shifts. That is what Karen was talking about with these pictures, and you can feel it. You might not even consciously, if you're not used to reading energy, that's fine. You might not consciously recognize that's what's happening, but it raises the vibration of where you are. I'm telling you, she walked through the room that she's sitting in, and I stopped her. It's like, oh my goodness, the room and the energy in there is phenomenal. And it just helps you. And the more you sit with that energy, the more it expands your vibration to even a higher octave. And then once you go to this higher octave, then it continues to help you raise your octave. I hope that makes sense to everyone listening.
I think I think that, sometimes we get lost, people that are comfortable with this dialogue get lost in like, why would we want to raise our vibration? And really, I think it's just part of how we function best. The higher our vibration is, the easier our life is, no matter what you're
Yes.
going through. And it's, it's easier to solve problems, it's easier to heal, it's easier to laugh and easier to win a game. It's easier for your
Yes.
intuitive channels to come through and help you be creative. It's really it's really about making your life a lot more uh synchronized, like,
Yes, absolutely.
right?
Recognizing synchronicities from the other side, and
Right.
um, it just allows us to look at the world differently.
Yeah, that too. It does
And
allow us to work.
I talk a lot about our the lens through which we view the world, because no matter who you are, you come into this world with a society view or a family view. Some no information comes with at us just neutrally. We are all, from a point of neutrality, we're all looking at it through some kind of view. And the higher you can raise your vibration, the closer you get to looking at it from a love view, which most people admit looking things from a love view makes them better.
Yeah, it makes them better, easier, more creative.
Right, exactly. I also love how Karen keeps talking about creativity and how it changes your perspective. I have worked with thousands of people in all different walks of life, and anytime anyone is feeling stuck, they're feeling like they can't shift their energy, they're feeling like they're having a problem getting over something, I will tell them to do something creative, whatever it is that is creative for them. Is it painting? Is it cooking? Is it writing? Look at creative things because it can shift your energy. Now, Karen, I wanted to mention or ask you about, because you mentioned earlier channeling
Hmm.
some of these pictures and how you channel it. For one thing, I love what she said. I don't know, she was talking about she will have two paintings going, and one will be kind of from her creative side, and one will be from the analytical side of her brain. I love that. Karen does not know this, but when I teach mediumship, I actually will tell the people to do something with their analytical, and I give them exercises to do with their analytical side of their brain to kind of get it out of the way so that they can channel information.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it's like yeah, our analytical side is sometimes overly in charge, and it really should be working seamlessly, and
Yes.
the information that comes through, a broader channeled perspective is where all the miracles happen. And then our
Yes.
analytical mind is sort of the executioner of those miracles. It's like the one that has to take the step forward, but the divine answers are coming in here. And then, the follow through is the analytical versus the analytical figuring it out
Yeah.
first. And when you get that system, that it's more like a more divine way of looking at masculine, feminine. The feminine is the creative, and the masculine is the form. And so you bring the creation in and make the form out of it, and you bring the creation and make the form out of it.
Absolutely. We need both. We need them working in
Right.
harmony.
And they're constantly, reforming each other, going from form into creativity and back from creativity into form. It's really quite a lot of fun.
So tell
I've
me a little bit about the channeling process, how that works for you.
Um, well, there's a lot of different ways it works. For instance, I'm just going to pull these out. These are my botanical vision
Yes.
oracle cards that
Yes,
I'm
please. Yes, we would love to see those. Pull those out.
there. This is what the backs of them look like. It's a morning glory in some light, and then oh, that wasn't that was just a regular card. There's one that's an instruction card, but I I don't have it easily findable on here, but like I sat down with my flowers one day and they basically said we want to impart our wisdom on more people, and we want to help people, and we have these little bits of wisdom that come through our consciousness and you can see it. So that's partly why I take the pictures of them. And so I sat down with them one day, and I have like 40,000 pictures of flowers. So I said, all right, you got to tell me which ones you want.
Right. That could be overwhelming.
It was, well, that's the thing, is it wasn't. So you have to tell me which ones you want and what the messages are going to be. And so I just go into this channel, probably like people describe writing a book, and it just starts pouring through you. And I don't even know where the pictures came from, but just like that, I'm able to pull the pictures that wanted to be part of this deck. And then once I got them all in there, I just, went down the row, and I'm like, I'm you know, I'm just in a zone, and the messages I'd look at each one and the message would just come through, and then I'd add the message to the card. Um, like this is a yellow rose and it says go forth gently. And these cards have been like great for maybe not so much doing something creative, but getting me unstuck even. Like,
Okay, so Karen doesn't know that I'm going to do this, but we're going to use those cards.
oh,
Now,
okay.
for everyone that is watching this or knows me, knows I am a psychic medium. I use a lot of different oracle decks and, tarot cards and things. Now, I saw Karen's deck online, but I haven't touched this. So I'm going to show y'all how easy this is to do and how they will work. So, I'm thinking of a question in my head.
Hmm.
And I want you to shuffle the deck and then pull, and when it tells you to stop. So this is what everyone listening, this is what you do. You just shuffle the deck until the deck says to stop, and then you pull a card.
There's one that sort of jumped out. So
That's the one I need then.
all right, that's the one I'm holding.
Okay, so let's see the card.
Can
It
you
is uh
pink
precious,
rose? It says, precious is this
precious is this
moment.
moment. Okay, so now I'm going to tell everyone the question I was listening to, but that card means something so much more than just, and this is what it will do. So my question was, me and my friend of mine are about to publish a book. It's written, it's edited, cover is done. And I was like, is this book going to do well? That was my question. The answer was, precious is this moment.
So my take on that, from looking at the flower, I mean, part of the answer is in the color of this and the lines and the energy of it. But this it's like just celebrate what's already happened
And
and
yes,
where you are right now, because every every moment is precious. So everything you've done so far is precious, and
Mhm.
don't don't put anything on the success on it because that's
Absolutely.
another moment.
So this card, Precious is the Moment, for one thing, it's pink. If you are watching it on YouTube, you saw that it's pink. For everyone who knows me, I'm all about love. That book
Yeah.
we wrote is about love. I'm about love. Also, Precious is the Moment. Over this past week, for everyone watching, most people know I have stage 4 cancer. I've gotten good
Hi.
news from that. I sold out an event I have coming up. I have booked another event, booked for it. So precious is this moment. So it was about exactly what she said. Looking forward. Yes, your book is going to do well. Yes, enjoy it. But precious is this moment right now. Being
Right.
mindful of where you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how you use Oracle cards. And these are beautiful. I'm telling y'all, these are absolutely stunning. The colors in them, the energy coming off of them. Again, you can go to Karen's website and look at them and hopefully purchase them. She didn't tell me to say that. I just said it.
Since you said
Um,
that, I'll put a little coupon on your I'll give you one to give to your listeners so they
Even
can.
better. I'm going to have a coupon on here. So y'all pay attention down at the verbiage of this. We'll have a coupon. Again, I know I've said it several times, but it's KarinEdgett.art is her website. It was going to be in the verbiage. Please go check out her stuff. Those very few times have I had art stop me in my tracks because I'm not an art person. Some people can go to museums and just spend hours and hours. I can appreciate it, but very few times does the energy of art stop me in my tracks, and it did the other day. Hence why she's sitting here in front of me today.
All right, awesome.
Now, I want to also talk about, because I want to make sure we talk about this next endeavor, and then we'll come back to the art. But I want to talk a little bit about your healing and transformation for what we eat, because again, because I've had some health concerns, I really pay attention to food. And let's talk a little bit about the vibrational energy of food and how it impacts our well-being. Can we switch gears just a
Yeah.
little bit?
Yeah, let's dive into food. I used food along with a bunch of other things in my own journey to heal myself from not feeling well on just about every level and blah blah blah. I had so many little chronic problems and I started learning about food. Um, I think kind of kind of by accident. I had an ad agency for a while and I'd sold my ad agency and I was on a trip in Peru and I ran into this person on a bus and I ended up staying at her family's house and eating traditional Peruvian foods. And then we went to her family farm and I hadn't had milk in like a decade. And they, they milked their cow right in front of me and gave me a glass of it. And I think I learned later that that was inappropriate for me to do, but I thought if someone hands you a glass of milk, you drink the whole thing. So I drank this huge glass of milk. I thought I'm either going to die or I'm going to go to, everything's going to be better. I don't know which. And it
Oh,
tasted like a warm milkshake. I think the cow had been eating some sugar cane or something. It was so sweet and so good. And later the next day, I felt a lot better. And I'm like, what was it about that milk, that made me feel better? And I uh, I started investigating food, and I found um, people out there that really understood a lot about food, and I learned a lot of traditional cooking methods. I became a nutritional cook. I studied a lot of fermentation. I became like an expert in fermenting, and I taught classes and soaking things and preparing grains properly, and all these things that bring out more nutrition in food and more life in food. But I quit teaching and I quit getting my getting dogmatic about anything because I really wanted to understand it more spiritually and find out what is it about food that can enhance your intuition and your spiritual connections. And that's when I started really, finding that um, how you prepare your food has a lot to do with the energy of it, but also certain foods have higher vibrating energies than others, and it's not always the same over time. So, for instance, I'm mostly a plant-based eater now, and I moved to plants only because my body was shifting to a higher vibration, and I kept feeling like I had a finger stuck in a light socket almost, like zzz, things were not wired right or something. And I finally decided it was the meat. And
Mhm.
and it's because not that meat was always a lower vibrating food, but it's meat and animals have karma. And the karma towards animals, that was a cat, um, uh, isn't that great. And they're all sort of in this shared grid. So if you're treating an animal bad in this farm and an animal really well on this farm, yeah, it helps balance it out. But they both share that
Yeah.
karma.
Mhm.
So the meat has been brought down in vibration. And plants, on the other hand, especially like leafy greens and flowers, I eat a lot of flowers too. Um, they're they're karmaless. They take the consciousness of the earth, which of course can be healthier or not healthy depending on where they are, and they take the fresh consciousness and energy of the sun and they create themselves anew. And so you're eating this very high vibrating new consciousness versus a consciousness with and vibration with karma. And I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it's not a reason to stop eating meat or fish or something like that. It's more just
And awareness.
an awareness and an energy that you carry with you. Like maybe you're here and the meat is here. And so you want to eat meat, you know, or maybe you're here and the meat is here. And so you don't want to eat meat. Or I don't even know for me if I'm eating meat, I'm not eating meat for a couple decades or it's the rest of my life or what. But there's a reason why a lot of some of the, you know, Buddhist monks don't eat meat and
Yes.
a lot of these or fish or something because I think that there is this history which is almost a lower vibration to have history because all our histories have been sorted, some
Yes. Yeah, they
good,
have.
some someone who knows the Akashic records know that and the animals are the same way.
Yes.
Even food that comes from the trees has some little bit of karma with it because the trees have been around for a while. But when you're leafy greens, beans, things that are just from, you know, stuff that grows fresh every year, they're really high vibrating and they can be made higher vibrating in a number of ways, from blessing your food to, thoughtful soil
Yes.
work and stuff like that. But bottom line is whatever's coming from the heavens and whatever's coming from our sweet earth, they're giving it karma free to the plants. And
Yeah.
that's my understanding of energy and yes, soaking your beans if they're not fresh releases even more of the energy
So I
and
want everyone to focus a little bit on what Karen has said. She's talked a little bit about how she is so particular about, and this is just an awareness. She's not saying you need to be a vegetarian or any of that. She's just saying it's an awareness of what has worked for her. And she has talked a lot about raising her own vibration. She clearly has a relationship with Gaia, Mother Earth, and the operations and trees, plants, they have a consciousness, and she's
oh,
in tune with that. Now, I want you to envision the energy that she is channeling just on a normal everyday basis because of what she puts in her body, how she views the earth, and then think about that being in her art. Like her art holds that energy. That is why it changes the vibration of where it is.
that,
Whenever like my husband teases all the time, but um sometimes he's annoyed by it and sometimes he's charmed by it, but it is Everybody wants a little piece of Christy. We can go just about anywhere. And
Hmm.
I was actually in an infusion room, a chemo infusion room the other day, not having a great time, not getting good results. And this lady, I knew not to put my eyes up, but I did. I looked up and instantly this lady come beelining across. She just finished her infusion, comes beelining across the room at me just to talk to me.
Yeah.
She stands there for 5 minutes, just spews her whole story on me. I kind of give her some healing without her noticing it. And by healing, what did I do? I loved on her a little bit,
Hmm.
gave her some. Okay, so now I'm telling you all this because the point of this vibration, so people can feel my vibration, right? Karen has that vibration, which she transfers to her art as she's working on it. So when you get her art, you have this art that has been imbued with this beautiful, loving vibration. And then it's going to change the space where it is, whether you really recognize it or not.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Yeah.
It's worked for myself for sure, but I have friends who bought bigger pieces, especially, and they're still, they're happier.
I'm telling you, I do not, if everyone looks around on my TikTok channels or anything, someone asked me the other day, with all your followers, why don't you belong to the shop where advertise items? Because that's not what I am. That's not what I do. I don't say things that aren't true. And so when I tell y'all that her artwork pulled me in, I am being very honest with you. You have to go look at it. And there were certain pieces that, like that pink peony, you could just tell that that plant was talking to her. That plant was singing to her that day.
Oh, it absolutely was. I mean, if I'm feeling blue at all, I can go out and spend time with the flowers or the trees, and I'm like, I'm fine again within.
Yes, hence grounding. That's a big buzzword right now. Get out in nature, ground, but it's true because Mother Earth talks to us. She has a grounding component. She can transmute our energy. So Mother Earth can transmute energy. That's why the flowers speak to Karen.
You spoke a little bit about my cookbook, and I just want to go back to the food for a second.
Oh, we're not done with the food. Don't worry, because
Oh,
I am a food girl. I love me some food.
well, I post a lot of recipes that I find,
I was
um,
looking at them. I was.
yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
recipes that I just sort of channel that are kind of fun on my website. Some are not necessarily ones I've channeled, but ones that are actually I know will make you well. And they're not all plant-based. I do have one of my chicken soups that I think that will heal almost anything on there. And but anyway, this is like a I don't this is not a printed cookbook. It's just a PDF that you get to download, but I I have in here some information about garlic and how it can raise your vibration and open up your intuitive channels. And that's one of the things I found about garlic. It's like if you really want to become more intuitive and you can't change your diet, just adding more garlic to it
Yes.
will help. And this recipes and these information in here will help you learn how to use garlic for your health, but also for your intuitive channels. And I have friends that have now like, people that have bought this and they're like only on recipe one because they loved it so much. I'm like, you haven't made any others? And they're like, no.
Hey, when you
But
love something, stick to it.
right. And I call it dressings, but it's really not just for salads. I mean, they're not plant-based at all. And they're putting it on salmon, chicken, their
So
burrito,
the
they're not eating their food anymore without a dressing on the side.
right. The cookbook that she's and it's true though, because I'm a dipper. I like to dip things. And now I don't anymore because all this stuff you usually dip in. I just saw your little kitty cat tail. Her little
Yeah.
kitty cat tail is coming in camera. It's so cute.
Yeah, she's wondering why I'm sitting over here
She's like,
talking to
love
you.
me. So whenever I teach again, mediumship, one of the things we talk about is the quality of the food.
Hmm.
Because the quality of the food, the vibration of the food can really change your connection to your intuition. And not only that, just overall health. I mean, if you're like, I'm not interested in changing my intuition or my connection to spirit, then think about your health. It's so important. Garlic has been proven to be an extremely healthy food. This,
Well, yeah, it's healthy, but I use it both as um a healthy food, but also like as a probiotic. And that's one of the really, really cool things with garlic is if you want to use your own, make your own probiotic, it's really easy with garlic.
very
And
nice.
I know you just have to, it's in the book, the instructions. I also have it on my website for free if you just Google garlic or
Yes.
garlic in the search button. But yeah, if you crush it and let it sit 20 minutes, there's two compounds in there that form a substance called aniline that's actually in the same category as penicillin. It's been studied by NIH and all the other great institutions. And it's, yeah, you can use it as a probiotic. It's much, doesn't have any of the properties of destroying the good bacteria with the bad bacteria that
Hmm.
other
Hmm.
probiotics, pharmaceutical probiotics often have. But it's a fabulous probiotic. And I'm not a doctor, so I'm not giving you any advice. I'm just,
No,
yeah.
absolutely not. We are not giving any medical advice at all. We're just talking about things that have been studied and done. And if it resonates with you, please check it out. But this PDF book, it's a cookbook, but it's a PDF download. It's called Garlic Love Dressings. And if you just, yeah, we're all looking to add more healthy foods, ingredients to our foods. Check it out. Try a couple of them. Let me know. You message me. Let me know how you're feeling about it.
Let
I
me
saw
know too.
so on her website. Please just go peruse. She has these beautiful cards on there, these beautiful oracle cards. And okay, so you know what? We're gonna do something else. Here, Karen's like,
Okay.
oh Lord, I'm never going on this lady's podcast again. Where is she
Oh,
taking me?
no, 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 no. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm all excited to talk to you. I'm
I
having
am going,
a
I
laugh.
want you to, now I'm going to read the card. Now, again, people, I do not have any experience with these cards. I'm just going to have her pull a card and I'm going to
Okay.
read it for Karen. Now, I don't
Okay.
know a lot about her, but she's going to pull the card. So we're going to see you tap into them intuitively. So we're going to see how these cards speak to me. So think of yourself, Karen, shuffle them and pull one.
Okay.
It's
I'm
a
going to think
beautiful
of
thing.
that overwhelm that we've been talking about earlier.
Hmm.
How's that? How's that for okay.
She's opening up Pandora's box here.
Okay. That's the card that popped out.
Okay.
Sometimes when you're shuffling them, a card will pop out instead of
Very good. Okay, so this, I'm not sure what flower this is because I'm not, what flower is that?
it's a bleeding heart.
It's a bleeding heart, and it
Yeah.
says love is the answer.
Yeah, and there's like a little heart shape on the top of it, and it's
Okay,
kind
so now tapping into this card, it's this vibrant, beautiful, hot pink with a little red on it. It says love is the answer. I didn't know the name of the plant, but it made perfect sense when she told me. Now, what I'm getting for Karen is that she channels this tremendous love. Now, I'm hearing in the past she's had problem putting up boundaries. Sometimes when people channel a lot of love, they can give too much of themselves,
yeah.
but she has learned the hard way to put up boundaries. So I'm being called to tell her good job on that, that she's done a good job with boundaries. And you know, that's a hard lesson for us to learn sometimes. Now, for the moment, I said, okay, what are you saying about her at the moment? They're showing me that she is a sponge just walking around. I don't know if you've ever noticed, Karen, walking down the street, then all of a sudden your energy will completely shift. You'll be walking down the street, then all of a sudden it's like,
Yeah.
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 So Spirit showed me this. It gave me a sign clairvoyantly, which showed me you walking down a street, and it's like almost every step you took, your energy was shifting some. And it's because you're such this beautiful love bug person that you just take on other people's stuff as you were walking down the street.
Yeah, I think I've been told that before, and it's almost like, I come out of my house where everything is safe and nice, and I go walking down the street, and all of a sudden I've forgotten to put up some shields or something. I was walking today, and some guy across the street, he's just like waving and waving at me, like, hello.
It's
Like,
because you exude this beautiful love. And so now the card said love is the answer. And I'm being called to tell you that that is what's going to change the world is people standing in their love, to please not change your vibration, to hold the line. I've heard that several times as I've been reading this card for you, to hold the line, hold the line. Hold the line in love, but then they're also showing me make sure you're protecting yourself. You are making such a huge shift in this world with your vibration, shifts that you don't even realize. They're showing me, oh, okay, yes, yes. She has a note card book. We haven't even mentioned that, but there is a book she has that you can purchase, correct? It's a note cards with pictures on it of flowers. And they showed me people taking that book and handing them out to people, and even that is changing the vibration.
Hmm.
There is a whole contingent of guides stepping up that are they're standing up, chest out, like very proud of this path that you've been on. And they're showing me about 5 years ago, you stumbled a little bit and you got up and you're like, yeah, no, that's not the way I'm going to be in this world. I'm staying the course. I'm staying the course. Do you know what they're talking about? What happened 5 years ago?
Was that in 2019?
Yes, it would have been.
Yeah. I don't really remember what happened, but I will tell you in 2019, I got this feeling like you said, I'm not going to be this way in the world. And I was in some galleries that I wasn't quite resonating with. I pulled out of all that. I pulled out of where I was in my studio. Made a studio space in my house, and I brought everything in to
Mm-hmm.
regroup. I
Yep.
didn't know what would happen. And then, of course, 2020 happened.
Yeah.
And
Who
then
can forget that?
right, at the same time, my parents were needing a lot more of my
Mm-hmm.
attention to help them age out. And one thing led to another. And the openings that happened in 2020, along with this drama that was happening, were the flowers. I would go on these long walks because during COVID, that's about all you could do
Mm-hmm.
by yourself, of course. And the flowers are like, hey. And I'm
Talk to
like,
me. Come over here.
I'm not a flower photographer. At that point, I'd sold my cameras. Had, I was just a painter, and I was not the just a painter, but
Right.
I was a
Right.
painter. And the flowers started talking to me, and they're like, hello, hello. And I'm like, all right, I'll take a couple pictures. And then they're like, you know what? You can see our grids, you can see our energy flowing. And of course, they were beautiful that year because there was no pollution and no fray
Mm-hmm.
in the city. And so we had amazing flowers. And I started taking pictures, and then it's an interesting story because then I started um, seeing the sadness and the fear and the grief on people as they're walking around in their masks. And I would go up to these strangers and I'd be like, can I take your picture for a portrait project I'm working on? And I would take these flowers that I took their pictures of their energy of, and I would make these grids and I'd superimpose the portrait over the flowers over the portrait, and then I'd send it to them as a gift. I didn't charge anybody for these. And they would be so happy then. And for some of them, I became good friends. And one of them I did said, wow, our real estate office is shut down. You can use our whole real estate office on Pennsylvania Avenue to show these portraits if you want. And we'll print the images out to put in all the light boxes. And so all of a sudden I had this like art show going on of portraits of people that I would meet that just I was drawn to help them shift their energy. And it was really quite fabulous. I even had an orthodontist who saw him, and she was like, oh, will you do a portrait of me and I'll barter you the dental work?
So I want everyone to, this story that she is telling came about from me reading a card. It was one of her beautiful cards.
Yeah, it was so that shift into COVID was really beautiful for me. Everybody else is in this state of uncertainty and terror, and I'm like, dudes, the flowers are really beautiful, and you know,
Mhm.
and I
So
don't know.
you were taking that, reminds me of the card that came up for me, precious is the moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes the moments when we are in may not seem so precious, but we're being called to take them to a higher octave. And I know it's hard to see sometimes when you're in the muck of it, but we're always called to take it to a higher octave. So please go to Karen's website. Her contact information is going to be in the verbiage. There's going to be, she said, a coupon that she's going to give me that I will give you for a discount on the cards. And the right, it was the cards,
Yep.
correct? Yeah.
The
And that
card
was what just
you
I
can
just did that little I did that reading for her off of one card she pulled. Cards are used to kickstart your intuition. And that's what it did. It kickstarted it for me. I was like, oh, yeah, this is where we're going. You just keep following the energy. And that's what her cards did.
I have
Again,
I have a funny story about the cards. I went to Moorea last year, which is in the French Polynesians, to do a swim with the whales. This beautiful trip. And I get there and I've forgotten my mask that I had
oh,
spent a long time getting just the right one that didn't go off when I went down and dove down and I have a small head and I'd forgotten it. I was so upset. And I was like, "Oh." So I pulled out my cards and I picked a card and the card said hum. And so I started humming. I like, and the first person I walk into is total stranger, but she was there on the same group. I said, I forgot my mask. And she said, Oh, I brought two and I brought a small one. Fit me
that so
great.
happened to have brought a small one.
And I don't know, I just credit the cards with like changing the dynamic of that moment where I was just like,
Absolutely. Yes. You're breaking up
oh,
energy. When you want to
yeah,
change the dynamic of a situation, you have to change the energy of it. And that's what
yeah,
you're doing. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So, Karen, I could visit with you forever, but thank you so much for being on my podcast. I so appreciate it. For everyone watching, please check out her website. It's KarinEdgett.art. Again, all of her contact information will be in the verbiage. Thank you again for being here.
All right, thank you. And I appreciate everything you've done and everything you do. You're a really wonderful soul.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, beautiful souls. I hope you all have a wonderful day.